evening, you're watching Just the News. I'm Amita Balachandran, and lots of updates coming in from Sri Lanka because it's now seeing its worst ever economic crisis. So we start off with that story. Amid the economic crisis in the country, Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's ruling coalition lost its majority in parliament as proceedings began today. Now, at least 41 lawmakers walked out of the alliance. It now appears to have 109 seats, 5 less than the 113 seats required for a simple majority in the 225-member parliament. Now, the government, however, claimed that it commands the simple majority. Earlier, Rajapaksa said that he won't resign, adding that he is ready to hand over the government to whoever proves majority in the parliament. Meanwhile, there has been no vote count yet, although Rajapaksa's minority government could find decision-making more challenging. Independent parliamentarians, however, could continue to support government proposals in the House. Sri Lanka is also now witnessing protests where people and students have taken to the streets over the last couple of days, asking for the President and Prime Minister to resign immediately. The protests continued outside the President's office, according to Reuters as well. Meanwhile, on Monday, over 2,000 protesters took to the streets, protested outside Prime Minister's house, demanding his resignation. The protesters reportedly broke through police barricades, prompting the security forces to use tear gas and water cannons to disperse the crowd. Now, there's also news that's coming that Sri Lanka has decided to temporarily close its embassies in Norway, Iraq, and Australia with effect from the 30th of April. The government has said that it is part of a general restructuring of Sri Lanka's diplomatic representations overseas undertaken by the Foreign Ministry in the context of the current economic situation and foreign currency constraints faced by the country. Now, Sri Lanka's new Finance Minister Ali Sabri has resigned today, a day after President Gotabaya Rajapaksa appointed him after sacking his brother Basil Rajapaksa. Now, in his resignation letter, Sabri wrote, and I quote, "I am now of the view that for your excellency to make suitable interim arrangements to navigate this unprecedented crisis, fresh and proactive and unconventional steps need to be taken, including the appointment of a new finance minister." End quote. Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund has said today that it is monitoring political and economic developments in Sri Lanka very closely. In an email statement to Reuters, IMF Sri Lanka mission chief has said, and I quote, "IMF staff is looking forward to program discussions with the authorities, including during the visit of the newly appointed finance minister to Washington later this month." End quote. Remember, the government in Sri Lanka has said that they will seek help of the IMF. So far, the country is facing massive shortage of fuel, of essential food items, and in fact, even 13-hour blackouts, which is why people have taken to the streets demanding resignation of the Prime Minister and the President immediately. Moving away from the story now, focusing on India. Fuel prices have been hiked yet again. So we've seen about 10 rupees increase in a matter of just 2 weeks. It's the 13th hike in 15 days, and we'll put up the numbers on the screen right now. In Delhi, petrol is at 104.61 rupees per litre. In Mumbai, petrol is at 119.67 rupees per litre. In Chennai, petrol is at 110.09 rupees per litre. In Kolkata, it's at 114.28 rupees per litre. Diesel, however, is also inching close to the 100 rupee mark in Kolkata. It's crossed the 100 rupee mark in Mumbai. And if you look at the tax or the price build-up of petrol, and this is effective of 1st April 2022, you'll see that the base price is at 53.34 rupees per litre, and the freight is at 0.20 rupees per litre, but a large chunk of the entire cost goes into taxes, mostly by the centre and the states. Moving on from this story now to what's happening in Haryana. The Chief Minister of Haryana today moved a resolution in the State Assembly urging the centre not to take any step that would disturb the existing balance till all issues regarding the reorganization of Punjab are settled, besides reiterating its claim over the state capital, Chandigarh. Now, it also urged the central government to take steps to construct the Sutlej-Yamuna link canal in compliance with the Supreme Court's directions and prevail upon Punjab to withdraw its case and permit the Hansi Butana canal to be able to carry waters to deficient areas of Haryana. Meanwhile, in Karnataka, there's a fresh campaign by Hindu groups against loudspeakers, this time in mosques. Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai on Tuesday has said that all are equal before the government and mosque loudspeakers will not be taken down forcefully. Now, he said, according to IANS, and I quote, all steps should be taken to ensure peace by not letting any individual or organization take law into their hands. The limit of decibel is prescribed and there is an order to purchase a decibel meter. This is work which has to be done by taking everyone into confidence. It can't be done forcefully, end quote. Meanwhile, in South Delhi, the municipal corporation mayor has said that from now onwards, licenses for running meat shops will be issued to traders only if they agreed not to operate during the Navratri. Now, Mr. Suryan has also written to Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal to withdraw discounts on alcohol during Navratri and, if possible, stop the sale of liquor for those 9 days. Also, the news: a Delhi court has denied bail to 8 BJP Yuva Morcha members who had barged through security barricades and smeared paint on Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal's residence on the 30th of March. Now, to give you a bit of a context, nearly 200 members of the BJP-YM, the BJP's youth wing, had staged a protest outside Kejriwal's house against his remarks on the Kashmir Files movie. Now, the men broke the boom barrier, kicked and banged the main gate before painting it red. According to the Indian Express, they also broke a CCTV camera outside the residence. Now, the judge said that prima facie, it is clear that their fundamental right, and I quote, to peacefully protest is exceeded by them knowingly or intentionally, end quote. Also in the news, Delhi's 3 municipal agencies run by the BJP have been merged into one today. This comes after the Rajya Sabha passed a bill to this effect. Now, the precedent sign is currently awaited. The bill has been opposed by the opposition like AAP and the Congress. However, BJP claims that the bill to merge South, East and North municipal corporations would ensure better operations, save costs and ensure better use of funds as well. Also in the news, Lok Sabha passed the Criminal Procedure Bill on Monday. The Criminal Procedure Bill seeks to replace the Identification of Prisoners Act 1920. Now, the bill seeks for legal sanction to police to obtain physical and biological samples of convicts and detainees for investigation in criminal matters. Now, some member of parliaments have raised concerns about invasion of privacy. They insisted that all data collected under the proposed law will be protected. Now, the bill was passed by a voice vote after Mr. Shah assuaged the concerns raised by the opposition, which claimed that the draft law was draconian and could convert India into a police state. Union Home Minister Amit Shah, however, asserted that it will act as a defender of human rights of law-abiding citizens. Meanwhile, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar has today introduced a bill in the Lok Sabha that seeks to prohibit the financing of weapons of mass destruction and gives the government the powers to freeze and seize assets of people involved in such activity. The centre has said that the existing act pertaining to weapons of mass destruction does not cover the financial aspect of such delivery systems, and the new provisions are essential to meet international obligations. On to international news right now, starting off with what's happening in Peru. Peruvian president has imposed a curfew in the capital Lima, banning people from leaving their homes to curb protests against rising fuel and fertilizer prices. Now, this has been triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The Peruvian government said that the protests have now spread throughout the country, and have become increasingly violent, and at least 4 people have so far been killed. Let's now tell you what's happening in Ukraine. It's been 41 days since Russia invaded Ukraine. The Kremlin has said that Western allegations that Russian forces committed war crimes by executing civilians in the Ukrainian town of Bucha were a monstrous forgery aimed at denigrating the Russian army. Now, Kremlin spokesperson has said, and I quote, "It's a forgery aimed at denigrating the Russian army and it will not work," end quote. Meanwhile, the UN aid chief has told the Security Council that 1,430 civilians killed in Ukraine, including 121 children, is likely a serious underestimate. Now, in the meantime, according to AFP, US ambassador will seek Russia's suspension from UN Human Rights Council. Meanwhile, the European Commission proposed new sanctions today against Russia. It included a ban on buying Russian coal and on Russian ships entering EU ports, and said that it was working on banning oil imports as well. This was according to Reuters. On to environment news right now. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has said that global greenhouse emissions needed to peak by 2025 at the latest if the world wanted to restrict temperature rise to within 1.5 degrees Celsius from pre-industrial times. Further, global emissions would have to be reduced by 43% from current levels by the year 2030 in order to meet the 1.5 degrees Celsius target. It has also stressed on stronger action in the near term. That brings us to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.